It appears that the judge that is overseeing pretrial hearings for accused CEO killer Luigi Mangione, who has pled not guilty in the assassination of United Health CEO Brian Thompson, may herself have some conflicts of interest. What do I mean by that? Well, Magistrate Judge Catherine H. Parker happens to be married to former Pfizer executive and holds hundreds of thousands of dollars in stock. That's Brett Parker, her husband, who left Pfizer back in 2010. So now the judge, Catherine Parker, has, as I mentioned, thousands of dollars in stocks, including in healthcare companies and pharmaceutical companies. This according to her 2023 financial disclosures. So now her husband, Brett Parker, as I mentioned, left Pfizer 14 years ago, uh, where he served as vice president and assistant general counsel after holding these same titles at Wyeth, a pharmaceutical manufacturer that was purchased by Pfizer. Hmm. So, been there for quite some time doing healthcare industry stuff. Now, according to Parker's disclosures, her husband, Brett, still collects a pension from his time at Pfizer in the form of a senior executive retirement plan, or SERP. Hmm. Pfizer, of course, happens to be the largest pharmaceutical company by revenue, bringing in about $58.5 billion in 2023. So huge, right? Everybody knows Pfizer. They're the ones that had the first COVID vaccine, which, by the way, works great. Okay. So I don't have any issue with their work, but I do have an issue with the fact that they do tend to gatekeep a lot of life saving medications. In fact, the aforementioned COVID vaccine now costs money if you want to get it. So yeah, that's a bit of a problem, right? Now the company has had a share of controversies, including paying out hundreds of millions of dollars to settle multiple illegal marketing accusations. Uh, and so, yeah, that's one of the issues, right? And as far as Judge Parker's investments, she holds between $50,000 to $100,000 in Pfizer stocks. And the reason that there is a bit of a range there is we don't know for certain how much in value she holds in stock. So you have to kind of give that range. Okay. Now, that's not all. Okay. Parker also holds scattered interests in pharmaceutical, biotech, and healthcare companies like Abbott Laboratories, the owner of St. Jude. St. Jude does a lot of great work when it comes to like helping kids with cancer. Okay, and so in cancer research, great things, right? But at the same time, Abbott, the owner, not into such great things. In fact, they were recently known for manufacturing tainted and toxic baby formula. Okay, so they didn't clean out their machines good enough, and this formula was tainted, led to deaths. Okay, this was during the pandemic, and so of course they had to shut down. And because they own such a large market share of the baby food market, you ended up having a shortage. I remember, and I think a lot of you remember as well, where it was very, very difficult for people with infants to be able to get baby formula, and so that's a big problem, right? Now, not only that, but Abbott also fraudulently billed Medicaid for glucose monitors and sold faulty deep brain stimulation devices. So, yeah, a lot of issues there with that company. Parker also estates in pharmaceutical, biotech, and medical device investments like Viatris, Intella Therapeutics, Ace Technology, and CRISPR Therapeutics. The only one that I actually know really anything about is CRISPR. Well, I don't know if we've all heard of CRISPR, but I know it's the gene editing, thing that they use. Okay, so there you go. Obviously, there seems to be a problem here. You have a judge who has profited off our broken healthcare system, right? Um, by being married to someone who worked in that industry, and so now she's presiding over a case where a man is alleged to have killed a CEO in order to, at least in the prosecution's case, to terrorize the leaders of the healthcare industry. Hmm. Now, something tells me this does not seem to be like it's going to be a fair trial. I could be wrong. I could be wrong, and I hope I am. But I don't know. Something didn't sit with me right on this. Now, Mangione, by the way, has been charged with a terrorism modifier to murder. That's what he is accused of. And innocent until proven guilty, obviously. But here's the thing: I think adding a terrorism modifier to this is the way of their way of sending a message. And who do I mean by that? Elites, okay, people who are incredibly wealthy and powerful, and they're not sending the message to Mangione, who again has only been accused of a crime. Um, but the message is to anyone who may sympathize with his position, not the alleged actions that he had taken, because of course we all agree that murder is wrong. But uh, you know, i- his alleged actions were um, informed by his hatred of the broken for-profit privatized healthcare system that does kill 68,000 people per year, Americans. And we're the only country in the world that has high rates of medical bankruptcy. People go bankrupt from medical bills as a result of our system. But again, he had pled not guilty and is innocent until proven guilty. That's very, very important. That's how our system of justice works, or is supposed to. Now, that said, his attorney, Karen Friedman Agnifilo, said that she was very concerned about whether Mangione would get a fair trial. And judging on the judge and her ties to the medical industry, I'm inclined to agree. Now, another thing that she said is that court authorities were making a spectacle of the case. I wouldn't just say that it was court authorities, right? But I mean, we're talking about the mayor of New York, okay? Uh, Eric Adams doing showing up during a perp walk. I mean, what? And then being like, I wanted to look him in the eye and tell him that he's not going to do terrorism in my city and get away with it. Well, first of all, we don't know that he did it, innocent and still proven guilty. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to send a message, right? You're just trying to be like, oh, hey, look, we're gonna go after this guy who has made you very, very scared. Yes, very scared. And they set up a hotline. Kathy Hochul did for CEOs that are afraid, that feel a little scared. This is while the NYPD shoots turnstile jumpers, okay, and school children are literally afraid to go to school because of school shooters. In Wisconsin, for example, there was a shooting at a Christian school. Spend millions and millions of dollars, the states do, the schools do, on things that don't actually keep children safe. But we're not really worried about that. But we are worried about, CEOs feeling a little scared because someone had decided to take it into their own hands. Which again, I do think that it's wrong. I don't. We'll never condone murder, right? But at the same time, it really shows you the rage that people have. His the support for this alleged killer. In fact, um, his lawyer said, "quote This is a highly unusual situation we find ourselves in. I've never seen anything like it." Well, that's because this is a very, very different case from I think what we've seen in a long time. Agree with it or not, like it or not, and whether he is guilty or not, he is right now considered a symbol of the rage that many people rightfully feel at elites who have been taking advantage of us for so long. But to me, going along with that, it's no surprise that this judge happens to be a beneficiary of the same kinds of elites. As our justice system, to me, seems more less like a system of actual justice. I mean, you only look at the things that Trump, the incoming president elect, has been charged with, okay, and the cases that never made it to trial. It doesn't seem like it's a system of real justice, but more of a system designed to keep certain people, certain classes of people in line. That said, I hope that I'm wrong about all of this. I hope I am. And I hope that Luigi Mangione receives a fair and impartial trial by a jury of his peers, and that jury is guided by one thing: justice. President elect Donald Trump is very interested in doing one thing during his term. And it's not lowering the price of gas, it's not lowering the price of groceries. No, it's actually, and he's admitted that he can't do that, of- right? Uh, no, he's very interested in renaming an Alaskan mountain. That's right. That's his one of his priorities. On Sunday at America Fest, I feel like there should be some like a screeching eagle sound I should put on my soundboard for every time I say America Fest. But anyway, uh, on Sunday, the next president of the United States raged about how it's super, super unfair that Mount McKinley was restored to its original name and has vowed to unrestore it. So, we're talking about Mount Denali, located in Denali National Park and Preserve in south central Alaska. And that happens to be the highest mountain in the US with an elevation of more than 20,000 feet. Wow. So now, Denali was previously named Mount McKinley in 1896 after Republican William McKinley, the 25th US president, who happened to be assassinated in 1901. Trump told the crowd at America Fest, McKinley was a very good, maybe a great president. They took his name off Mount McKinley. That's what they do to people. Who? Who does that to people? Well, you're going to find out. President McKinley was the president that was responsible for creating a vast sum of money. That's one of the reasons that we're going to bring back the name of Mount McKinley, because I think he deserves it. So here's some irony for you, right? So McKinley, as I mentioned, was assassinated, and the man who killed him was an anarchist who believed that the centralized powers of the presidency were too great for one man to have. Hmm. Hmm. I mean, historical ironies, right? We got Donald Trump, who has been found by the Supreme Court, of which he had appointed 3 members to, um, over the summer to be immune from prosecution for official acts. Official acts, right? And not only that, but Trump is backed by Republicans at the Heritage Foundation that plan to enact Project 2025, which part of it would give the president a lot of power over agencies. By making a lot of these federal workers at will political appointees. So he can just clear out all these people that don't agree with him and appoint loyalists and lapdogs, lackeys, to his positions at all these different federal agencies. And that seems like a lot of power for one man. Irony after irony. But anyway, getting to McKinley, you can see why Donald Trump's a big fan. So McKinley, big fan of protective tariffs. Hey, I don't have a problem with protective tariffs, right? As long as they're targeted, as long as they're smart. And I understand a lot of you might say, well, Donald Trump's tariffs, they're just threats towards China to help him negotiate better. Well, we'll see if that happens. We'll see. We'll see if these threats lead to better negotiation, better deals, and if so, okay, great. Then maybe I was wrong about the tariff. But so far, the tariff threats really have just already led to places like Walmart, for example, saying Yeah, we're gonna raise the price of groceries. Oh, awesome. Yeah, great. Um, but anyway, it, protective tariffs, and another thing that he was in favor of, McKinley, American imperialism. But wait a minute, I thought Donald Trump, anti-war president. McKinley started the Spanish-American War. Oops. Now he also did secure the Gold Standard Act. Okay, and so, but overall, I mean, his praise of McKinley not completely off base, as his presidency led to a realignment that made Republicans largely dominant in the industrial states and nationwide for decades. And so I could see why Donald Trump thinks, oh, yeah, I'm like McKinley. Look at me. Yeah, I led a realignment. Well, there you go. But here's the thing, though. It could be that Donald Trump is he's a history buff, and he's like, yeah, yeah, I'm just like this guy. That's why I'm gonna honor him because he reminds me of me. Or it could be, and just hear me out for a second. Could be who put the name of Mount Denali back. Who took away the name Mount McKinley and put it to Denali, where its original name? And that would be none other than Barack Hussein Obama. That's right.
Obama.
Just trying to find it. Back in 2015, then President Barack Obama changed the name to the peak to Mount Denali during a trip to Alaska in an effort to recognize Alaska natives and the language that they have used for centuries. You know, that was the original name of the mountain before it was named Mount McKinley. So Denali actually means the high one in Athabascan. Now, Trump, again, this was, I think, all about, Obama! I gotta undo another decision that he made.
Obama.
Wouldn't surprise me. In fact, during his first term, Trump had actually asked Alaska's 2 Republican senators in a private meeting in March of 2017 if they wanted to reverse Obama's decision. According to CNN, however, the senators, Lisa Murkowski and Dan Sullivan, were like, no, don't do it. Don't do it. We're fine with it being Denali. Just
don't you ever do that. Don't you ever do that. I tell you, don't do it.
don't do it. In fact, he says, Lisa Murkowski and I, Senator Murkowski and I, jumped over the desk. We said no. No, the Alaskan Native people named that mountain over 10,000 years ago Denali. That was the name. And so all Obama did was just restore it. By the way, at the request of the state of Alaska and officials, for years local officials pressed the federal government to say, we should call it Denali instead of McKinley. Look, Alaska officially designated it as the mountain peak's name back in 1975. And for years, they were like, change it to Denali. Change it back to Denali. It is not Mount McKinley. It is Denali. So there it is. It was his name the whole time. Okay. Now that said, you had map makers and officials that ignored it because, let's be honest, the United States, we're not exactly great on indigenous issues. Yeah. Yeah. Could be a lot better. Could be a lot better. That said, Trump apparently interested in changing the name, although it won't be easy. Okay. It turns out that the process of changing the name of a mountain, a lake, or other geographical feature in a national park can take a while. A long time. And maybe so long that Trump might just forget about it. According to the National Park Service, a proposal has to be submitted to the Board on Geographic Names, which requires a compelling reason for the change and involves gathering input from local governments, relevant state authorities, and Native American groups. Yeah, so at least I know one of those that is not going to be on board for this change. In addition, any name change would need to be approved through an act of Congress. Once again, I don't really see a real big movement in that direction of renaming it. And my guess is that Republicans, they're not going to want to blow their political capital on something that really no one wants him to do. I mean, who is this? Who's just trying to help? Okay, what's the whole point? Again, is this what MAGA voted for? I thought you were wanting to lower the price of eggs and gas. I thought you wanted to help the economy. Well, how is this going to do anything? Well, it's not. Its only purpose is to distract people while Trump and his billionaire allies get ready to rob us. President elect Donald Trump is already threatening the nation of Panama over the Panama Canal, saying that he will take back control of the vital waterway unless, I don't know, I guess they grant U.S. ships free passage or something. In a pair of posts on his platform,
Truth, essential.
he writes, "Our Navy and Commerce have been treated in a very unfair and injudicious way. The fees being charged by Panama are ridiculous, especially knowing the extraordinary generosity that has been bestowed to Panama by the U.S. This complete ripoff of our country will immediately stop." Okay, wait, hold on. So we're getting ripped off by Panama, even after we were so generous to them. Is that true? Well, look, the Panama Canal Authority charges boats and ships for usage of the canal, depending on the size and purpose of the vessel. So you can have boats here that are charged as little as 50 cents for passage. And then, of course, you also have gigantic cargo freighters that can be charged anywhere up to $300,000, which sounds crazy, right? Until you realize these ships contain millions of dollars worth of goods that they are ferrying. So, very important. In fact, look, the canal handles about $270 billion annually in global trade. That's huge. It's an extremely important waterway, Pacific and the Atlantic Ocean. Now, because it is so important, of course, you have to maintain it. Turns out it's kind of expensive to maintain. In 2021, the administration in Panama actually budgeted about $350 million for maintenance work in order to preserve parts, equipment, and the structure of the canal. So that's a lot of money. And there's even more costs associated with it. I'll get to those. But Donald Trump, he wants to take it over. What? Why? And how? What, you gonna invade it? Is that it? You're gonna invade a sovereign country? I thought you were anti-war. It's ridiculous, right? I know. He's not actually anti-war. He's just making threats. And so we're doing peace through strength, everybody. Okay, he's gonna get a better deal by threatening them. Ah, so that's how you get better deals is threatening people. Okay. Well, again, the Panamanian government's like, no, you're not scaring us. The canal will continue to stay in our hands. Thank you. So, well done. Hadn't really worked, these threats, have they? Now, here's the thing. Getting back to Trump, he said Jimmy Carter messed it up when he gave it to Panama back in 1979 as part of a treaty. Now, control, of course, of the canal actually went to Panama in 1999. But here's what Trump said. When President Jimmy Carter foolishly gave it away for $1 during his term in office, it was solely for Panama to manage, not China. Wait, China? Or anyone else. It was likewise not given for Panama to charge the United States, its Navy, and corporations doing business within our country exorbitant prices and rates of passage. If the principles, both moral and legal, of this magnanimous gesture of giving are not followed, then we will demand that the Panama Canal be returned to us in full and without question. To the officials of Panama, please be guided accordingly. Wait, what? Is it really unfair, though? For, getting hit with basically, fees for passage? I mean, I would say that a lot of the costs here might have to do with maintaining the canal. As I mentioned, it's a complicated, system. Yes, America, yeah, we financed a lot of the construction of it. That's true, but it's been incredibly profitable for our own companies to have a quicker route from the Atlantic to the Pacific, and vice versa. Um, but anyway, getting back to the how like how bad the canal is doing right now as far as maintenance, how expensive it is. And this is in reference to Donald Trump. Do you really want to take over that project? Earlier this year, a report came out that talked about how saving the canal would actually take billions of dollars and many, many years to complete if it can be saved at all. Why? What are you talking about? Saving the canal? What's wrong with it? What's wrong with the canal? Turns out drought conditions that may be influenced by climate change are so bad in Panama that the water levels have been at record lows. In fact, the result of those drought conditions has led to a reduction in the amount of traffic that the canal can handle because they need water. They need water in it. Okay. And so what they need to do is what they're looking at, the Panamanian authorities, they want to spend billions of dollars building a new dam. Of course, there are concerns with, okay, we want to build this dam, but we're going to have to possibly relocate some people and displace some farmland. So now we got to figure that out. There are groups that are for it. There are groups that are against it. It's a whole big thing. Okay. But according to Reuters, the Panama Canal Authority aims to create a massive dam, 840 meters in length and 80.5 meters in height to secure fresh water for its locks. It says the reservoir's 1.25 billion cubic meters of water would allow up to 15 additional vessel transits per day during the dry season and help provide drinking water to Panama's growing 4.5 million population. Now, this project is called the Rio Indio Reservoir and could cost about $1.6 billion. And that's just to make sure that there's enough water for the locks. Now, that said, that's a lot of money, right? If Donald Trump wants to take it over, then doesn't that cost become ours again? Well, I don't know how the brain trust over at the Doge committee is going to really justify that $1.6 billion in additional spending. And by the way, the cost is only expected to increase. Meteorologists forecast that Panama will be facing more severe droughts and faster water evaporation due to higher temperatures in the future driven by climate change.
One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water.
But it wouldn't be. It wouldn't, not anymore. Okay, so there's problems. There's problems. And that Trump administration, the incoming Trump administration's energy policies are probably not going to help that at all. So, but anyway, here's the thing though. I don't think this is about ensuring fair rates or whatever. Okay, putting America first. I don't believe that at all. Because nothing Trump does actually ever amounts to that. Okay, I think Donald Trump's mad at Panama for coming after him for tax evasion. That's right. In June of 2019, the owners of a Panama City hotel that was managed by Trump's businesses and carried the Trump brand accused two companies, Trump Panama Hotel Management LLC and Trump International Hotels Management LLC, of not paying taxes on their Panamanian earnings. Oops. In a filing to the U.S. District Court in New York, private equity manager Orestes Fintiklis and his company Ithaca Capital Partners alleged that the Trump business actually failed to pay their 12.5% taxes on the millions of dollars they earned from managing the Panama City Hotel. Oops. To which, of course, I also say,
Whoopsie.
They also alleged that the Trump units failed to correctly report the number of people the hotel employed so that he could avoid Panamanian Social Security payments. The filing documented how the Panamanian government had later conducted a tax audit on the hotel and found some major irregularities. Fintiklis and his company were forced to pay the money Trump owed. So you can see how he's a little angry about that. In fact, the owner uh, says that if he had known that Donald Trump was going to do tax evasion, then they never would have given him that deal, the licensing deal. But understand that this is what happens when you do business with Donald Trump. He will find a way to screw you over, in this case, and enrich himself. And now that he has power, oh boy, the voters actually gave him power again. Oh, he's going to use it to make any cases or complaints against him where he might owe money go away. And I think that's the real reason that Trump wanted to become president as well. Not only to make his criminal cases go away, but also to make any of the civil cases go away. He has this lifetime record of stealing money from people, screwing people over. Okay? And he wanted that power, and now he's going to get it. He's going to have this power to help him get away from all the stuff that he owes or could be held accountable for, and to help him facilitate the largest transfer of wealth from the American people to his and his friends' pockets we've ever seen happen. It's going to be the largest robbery that we've ever seen, and it's all going to go to him and his billionaire cabinet. So, but as far as this is Panama is concerned, it is all about punishing Panama for daring to say that he owed them money. The long-awaited Matt Gaetz ethics report is out, and as expected, it's bad. It's bad. The committee determined, according to the 37-page report, that there is substantial evidence that Representative Gaetz violated House rules and other standards of conduct prohibiting prostitution, statutory rape, illicit drug use, impermissible gifts, special favors or privileges, and obstruction of Congress. Ooh, okay, wow. Unsurprising, though. Okay, CBS News writes that from 2017 to 2020, Representative Gaetz made tens of thousands of dollars in payments to women that the committee determined were likely in connection with sexual activity and or drug use, reads the report, which listed over $90,000 in payments to 12 women. The leaked final draft report also found that Gaetz allegedly violated several state laws relating to sexual misconduct while in office. Now, the House panel was expected to release the full report this week, but Gaetz had actually sought a restraining order on Monday to prevent the release, but we still got it anyway. Here's the thing. If this had been an exoneration, Matt Gaetz would be parading it around. Being like, look at that, exonerated. I don't know what that was. But instead, he's denying the claims, of course. In a tweet last week, for example, he asserted that he had never had sexual contact with someone under 18. And it turns out, no, he actually did twice. That's in the report. And then had complained that the House ethics report would be published without him having, quote, any opportunity to debate or rebut its findings. Bro, you want to debate? You want to debate over this? Over these findings? Yeah. What's there to debate? Look, if you have evidence to contradict the report, then, well, would you present it? Now, he says, well, I'm just going to present it on Twitter. Oh, great. Now, his big defense is they were girlfriends and I was just giving them my money. Really? They didn't even ask for it, I just gave them the money and we just happened to have sex afterwards. Totally straightforward. I don't see the problem. I mean, okay, sure, you just allegedly gave them money out of the blue, okay, because you were dating, right? And, through Venmo to Joel Greenberg, okay? And that's, by the way, after meeting at least some of them from a website called seekingarrangement.com, which apparently connects older men to younger women. Hey, there's a market for that. who are apparently seeking a mutually beneficial relationship. So what this is basically one of those, I think, sugar daddy sites. That's that's what I see this as, and apparently Matt Gaetz likes some on the younger side, about 18. Okay, and of course in one case, not not quite 18. Okay, but there's more. He said, "There's a reason they did this to me in a Christmas Eve report, and not in a courtroom of any kind where I could present evidence and challenge witnesses." The the Department of Justice had a probe and they dropped it. So there was no actual like court case that they were able to bring against Matt Gaetz. So I mean, and he would, he should count his lucky stars that there is not a court case involved, at least not yet. Okay, but now he says he's got some evidence, right? He shared a screenshot of what he said was from one of the alleged prostitutes that you won't see in the report. Another screenshot conversation he says is between an ethics witness and an attorney apparently shows a woman claiming that she was not a sex worker and simply thought that her 2017 involvement with Gaetz and others was just as friends. Hmm. Special friends, the most special of friends.
Sexual anarchy.
Just saying. Okay, fine. I'm sure that some of them, might have been just a friend or an acquaintance, and they happen to have sex. Okay, whatever, right? Now he also, though, shared a screen grab of an the alleged trafficking victim, as he put it, contradicting this characterization. Okay. Now, here's the thing, though, right? So remember that DOJ probe? Apparently, I'm sorry, the ethics probe. The DOJ probe also pretty much dropped the ball on a lot of this stuff, but the ethics probe also didn't find evidence to conclude that Gaetz had violated the federal sex trafficking statute, because although he allegedly transported women across state lines for the purpose of sex, they were all over the age of 18 at the time. So that's what the ethics probe found. Okay. Nonetheless, there was that 17-year-old who was not legal at the time, couldn't legally consent, and this was at a party in 2017 when Gaetz had allegedly had sex with her not once but twice. Okay, she had just completed her junior year at high school. Now, she had told the panel that she did not tell Gaetz her age and that he did not ask. She also recalled receiving $400, a payment, on the evening in question, which she understood to be payment for sex. So he didn't traffic her over state lines, apparently, because there wasn't evidence. Although, to be fair, the DOJ did block a lot of the ethics probe's investigation. I'll get to that. But still, he allegedly paid for sex with a 17-year-old, a minor at the time. And so, yeah, that would constitute a crime. And there's more, even though he denies it. He also denied doing any drugs, which investigators found to not be a true statement. Apparently, they have substantial evidence to the contrary. So, yeah, there's some drugs going on. The committee claimed to have seen texts in which the former congressman made references to drugs as party favors, vitamins, or rolls. Rolls, really? And the report also accused him of setting up a bogus email account from his Capitol Hill office for the purpose of purchasing marijuana. Okay. I'm not really hung up on like the drug stuff. Like, I don't know. I'm somebody who believes in decriminalization of drugs and decriminalization of sex work. Doesn't bother me. The sugar daddy thing is a bit creepy, in my personal opinion. But I mean, as long as it's legal through two consenting adults, I can't really say that it's illegal, because it technically wouldn't be, even if it does kind of creep me out a little bit. Okay. Now, as much as I don't care about the other two things, right? as far as the law is concerned, I do care about having sex with a minor, which is not right. And of course, I also care about the consent. And this is actually why the drug thing does matter. Because, look, if you are having relations with a person that is legally impaired as a result of drugs and or alcohol, then you actually haven't given consent. There is no consent there. And so that would be considered a form of rape, in my opinion. And so now that said, all of the women who testified said the sexual encounters were consensual. There is one, however, who said that she may have been impaired and didn't really know if she had the ability to fully consent. And so that's according to this report. And so, yeah, I mean, oh boy. Um, she also said, no, this is another woman who told the panel, when I look back on certain moments, I feel violated. So, yeah, I mean, that's definitely some regret there. Okay. Um, but look, here's the thing. These allegations are really good at showing hypocrisy, right? On the part of people like Gaetz and the Gaetz defenders, right? But I think we've all noticed that at this point Republicans are immune to hypocrisy because they don't really care. Yeah, I know. Um, Not only that, but some of them do this thing where they're like, I used to do bad things and I used to be a bad person, but I got right with God, I got right with Jesus, and I turned my life around. Hmm. Now Gates hasn't quite went that route yet fully, but he did say this. My 30s were an era of working very hard and playing hard too. It's embarrassing, though not criminal, that I probably partied, womanized, drank, and smoked more than I should have earlier in life. I live a different life now. Do you? Now, look, normally people get that out during their 20s. Okay. Apparently, Matt's a little bit late, if he's being honest, when it comes to growing up. Um, I actually don't believe he's any different now, though. But that's just my personal opinion. I don't think that there's been any impetus for him to change. Okay. You have to actually have to desire to be a better person. And I don't really see that desire play out for Matt Gaetz. Just say. Now, there's another piece to this, by the way. There was a 2018 Bahamas trip where Gates took some drugs and had sex with 4 women. Okay, sure. That trip, though, was described as luxury travel that exceeded permissible limits. Oh. Gates also allegedly arranged for his chief of staff to help a woman with whom he'd allegedly engaged in sexual activity to get a passport. What? He did so after allegedly falsely indicating that she was a constituent of his to the State Department, lying about it to get her a passport. Wow, that right there, clear abuse of his position, and of course the money for travel. So yeah, lying about that. So look, there's a report for the from the ethics committee. It's bad. It's what we expected, and so big shocker, I guess, that Matt Gaetz is kind of a creep. Wow. Um, Now that said, this report is going to be used to criticize the DOJ. In fact, it already is. That the authors of the report said that Merrick Garland's Department of Justice basically blocked them from being able to find uh, evidence to conduct a more thorough investigation. Um, and that gets me back to the whole. Well, they couldn't find evidence of trafficking, but they weren't really able to do a good investigation of it either. And so the committee said that, quote, due to the women's reluctance to cooperate, as well as the delay caused by DOJ's deferral request and subsequent refusal to provide meaningful cooperation, the committee was unable to determine the full extent to which Representative Gates' payments to women were compensation for engaging in sexual activity with him. So, I mean, that's just part of it. Why did the DOJ not do their job? I don't know. Maybe it's got something to do with Papa Gates. I don't know. His connections, very powerful Republican figure. So, I don't know. I guess maybe we'll see. Maybe something will happen. I mean, Gates is no longer in Congress, so I don't know. And of course, the DOJ under Merrick Garland didn't do anything. They already dropped their probe of him, and it's very, very unlikely that the Justice Department under Donald Trump is going to pursue this matter at all. So I don't know. Is he going to get away with it? Probably. I mean, it's as bad as we thought that it was going to be. And the real question, if we had a actual functional justice system, would be, what do we do about it? But since we really don't, or especially now with the incoming president, such as it is, I don't really see anything happening to Gates. No follow up investigation, no criminal charges, nothing. Texas Congresswoman Kay Granger happens to be the latest example of the gerontocracy in America, where our elected officials either spend so much time in office that they end up dying in office, or in this case, get secretly shipped off to a facility to deal with age related issues. The 81-year-old sitting Congresswoman has apparently been missing votes for the last 6 months. Yeah, just like AWOL on a milk carton. Now, we've actually found out where she's at. Apparently, she's been in an assisted living facility for having an advanced stage of dementia. Now, that's actually really terrible because I have personal experience dealing with it. I have a family member who has dementia, and it's tough. It's not an easy situation, and I feel terrible for the family. Right. That said, how is she still a member of Congress? How does that happen? I don't know. I mean, it's not like the people around her. It's not like her staffers didn't know, couldn't tell that there was an issue. In fact, according to Ken Klippenstein, Granger had transferred her home on July 9th to a retired general, William F. Garrison, and his wife, Diane Stone. Why? I mean, what was their relationship? We don't know. I don't know. But they got her house in exchange for about $10. Now, this is a $440,000 house. That's what she paid for it back in 2014. And yet, she, in order to transfer that property over to Mr. Garrison, all they had to pay was the $10 fee, the transfer fee. Seems really fishy. Something strange about that. I don't know what it's about. But now, that said, according to the Dallas Express, Granger has been living in assistant care for some time after having been found wandering, lost, and confused in her former Cultural District West 7th neighborhood near the location of the property in the transfer deed. So she's not doing very well, at least not mentally. And so there is an issue. And by the way, it's what's really wild about this situation is the fact that her decline has been going on for some time. In fact, here she is back in March speaking to members of Congress.
House Republicans made progress in how we fund the government. We drafted the most conservative bills in history. Members submitted over 1,000 amendments. We considered House bills individually on the floor, and we avoided a massive omnibus measure. In total, we increased defense funding and made target cuts. We also maintained our legacy under my colleagues on the other side of the aisle want to remove. Overall, this bill honors our commitment to our veterans, strengthens our energy security, hold agencies accountable, support our farmers and ranchers, and makes our transportation system safer. I urge my colleagues to support this bill, and I reserve the balance of my time.
I mean, you could see that she was struggling to read it, struggling to make sense of it. These were all pre-written, pre-prepared remarks. And so she's just reading off a page and struggling with it. It was really, really painful to watch. It feels like elder abuse to me, right? And she's, by the way, not the only one. I mean, you had 79-year-old Representative David Scott, who apparently, according to Politico, has trouble carrying out substantive conversations in real time. So he's doing the same thing. I mean, obviously not doing very well. And of course, this makes me think of Dianne Feinstein, okay, who had really, really serious issues. I mean, people talking to her and her, not being able to remember a conversation from 5 minutes prior. I mean, that is a real problem here. And she was a sitting senator until she died in office. And so those are cognitive issues that are a serious issue. And then, of course, you had Joe Biden. Joe Biden, by the way, his cognitive issues are not nearly as bad, all right? But he still has issues, okay? And there was a lot of media. I know, and it's an uncomfortable topic, right? But Biden absolutely did have some issues. And look, the American public, we saw it. We saw it. Even though politicians and the media were like, no, y'all crazy. You just hate old people. Wait, what? Now, there's one writer that told a conservative magazine about Joe Biden, quote, "It was the worst kept secret in Washington. It was essentially a failed cover-up. I don't blame the White House because the White House was doing what it could to protect the president. The media, however, told a story that was demonstrably false by the evidence of their own eyes. Voters have been telling pollsters for years that Biden was too old." Yeah, and then there was a DC chief for The Guardian that told the Daily Beast that basically what the media and the people in the White House were doing was just wrapping Biden in bubble wrap to try to protect him so that he wouldn't go out and make ridiculous statements or things like that. It didn't work. Okay, yes, we're going to defeat Medicare. We defeated Medicare. Okay, I mean, just stuff like that. Okay, that said, I mean, this whole thing with Biden and obviously Feinstein far worse, Granger far worse. I mean, what's going on here? Why would they do this? Well, I think it's the same reason that Feinstein staffers would do this, that would trot her out, and the staffers for Granger, they don't want to let go of power. That's it. That's really it. When it comes to Biden, Alex Thompson, national reporter for Axios, told CNN, quote, "I've covered the Biden White House for 3.5 years. The response every single time that it's come up has been to deflect, to gaslight, to not tell the truth, not just to reporters, not just to other Democrats, but even at times to themselves about the president's limitations at his age." And again, that's about Biden, but we saw a similar thing happen with Feinstein, where staffers like, "I don't know what you're talking about. She's fine. She's fine. There's nothing wrong with her. You guys are just being ageist." No, we can see what's going on. Okay. And look, Representative Granger's son and congressional office are saying, no, for one, she's not in memory care. Okay. Two, she's fine. In fact, Brandon Granger, her son, said, "There's nothing wrong with someone wanting to live in a community with other folks her age." Hey, okay, that's fine, but why is she still serving in Congress? That's the major issue here, right? Now, a source familiar with the Congresswoman's situation told CNN that she moved into an independent living facility just to downsize and to prepare for her future. Oh, that's what it was. It's just downsizing. That's all. And then nothing to do with the fact that she apparently cannot communicate correctly, doesn't really know where she is, wanders out around town lost and confused. Nothing to do with any of that. No, she was just downsizing. No, come on. Come on, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. Oh, this person also added that if the Congresswoman had known she would be unable to vote in the final 6 weeks of the 118th Congress, there would have been different preparations. Really? No. No, no, no. Look, she is basically retiring, which is the correct thing to do, but still, I think she should have done this beforehand, right? Left office beforehand. I mean, going into an assisted living facility, that is, I mean, you shouldn't be making these really important decisions for your constituents if you don't have the mental capacity to be able to serve in that role. Why is this happening? Well, as I said before, I think the staffers and most importantly, the donors don't care if their congresspeople can actually function as long as they end up getting what they want. And if somebody is cognitively impaired, well, then actually that makes their job easier because they can just convince them to do whatever, to sign whatever bill, to say whatever. So, I mean, that's even worse when it comes down to it. As for the media, one Washington journalist told Ken Klippenstein that media is so reliant on sources of Congress or access that they don't want to be able to, or they don't want to bite the hand that feeds them. Okay, and so there's that. That's why any mention of age or cognitive ability is quashed. Okay, oh, you're so rude. How dare you? How dare you mention this? How dare you, even talk about the idea that they're too old to be in Congress to serve at their posts? Well, no. How dare you? Okay, how dare you abuse these folks that are clearly no longer fit to serve in office? And like Jerry Connolly, might be too sick to serve in these very important chairmanships, preventing younger members of Congress from being able to take over these leadership positions from people who are apparently not fit to be in these positions. Connolly is dying. He's got esophageal cancer. It's a 1 in 5 chance of survival. It's 20%. It's not very good. He's already in radiation. He's already doing chemotherapy. All right, which really you do if the cancer has spread to other parts of your body, which makes survival even less possible. And yet, people, the gerontocracy, are still putting these people in positions of power as a seniority. And so, and in doing so, are blocking younger, more able, progressive members from being able to do these positions. And that's why it's a huge problem. So I do believe that it is abuse. You are abusing these folks that are no longer fit to hold office and that should be allowed to retire with some dignity. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.